অনুশ্রী প্রেয়ারটা করো তো। অনুশ্রী, Rosemall, please start the prayer. Thank you, Anusri. Okay, I am requesting Anindita, please you update about the last class, what we have discussed.
In detail, sir?
As much as you can, so that other people can understand.
Okay, sir. One moment. Can I begin, sir?
Yeah, you are audible now.
Okay, great. So in the last class, what we started off with was sir asked us to write whatever came to our mind with regard to 3 words. I hope you all saw the message that was posted in the group, WhatsApp group. So what we did first was sir gave us the word happiness, and we wrote whatever words that came to mind that's easy to associate with the word happiness. For example, we wrote the words like family, friends, and joy, positive emotions, determination, growth, and so on for happiness. So when we wrote these, we analyzed which was the most repeated word from everyone's responses. So we saw that for happiness, we saw family, friends, and health were the most repeated words. And similarly, we did it for honesty. And for honesty, we found that the truthfulness or truth was the most repeated word amongst everyone's responses. And similarly, we did it for the word integrity, for which we got ethics, completeness, and respect as the most repeated words. So using these words, sir asked us to write sentences through which we could use the word ethics, for example, and express integrity through using that word in a sentence. So we came up with various responses to that, like ethics are a code of conduct that can be understood as what is right and what is wrong. Ethics are written rules that we follow or principles that guide a person's behavior, and so on. So we did it the same way for all the 3 words that were repeated under integrity, which was ethics, completedness, and respect. So once we came up with sentences that express the word integrity using these 3 words, we came up with synonyms of integrity and used them to construct items that would question or measure the word integrity or the character integrity. So we came up with questions like, would you consider yourself as a righteous person? Would you uphold your morality? Would you complete the work that is assigned to you? And so on. And based on these items, we came up with a working operational definition of the word integrity. And my definition of this is integrity can be defined as the extent to which an individual is righteous, honest, and uphold ethics and complete the work that they've given and hold themselves accountable to themselves. This is what we did in previous class.
Thank you, Anindita. Very nicely you have covered. So this approach helps us to define the construct. Okay? Is it clear to all of you? Hello? Hello, am I audible? No.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
So this approach actually helps us to define the construct. Okay. So based upon the item, we are thinking about the construct. So the construct that should be related to the item. Okay. Here construct is happiness, construct is integrity, construct is what you have said?
Honesty, sir.
Honesty.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is clear to all of you? So Ayushi, can you tell me that is in this approach, what is the criteria and what is the item? Ayushi, are you here? No. What is Ritarani? So Anindita, can you tell me that is in this approach, which one is the criteria?
Is it the individual words that we use, sir? For example, the ethics, completedness, and respect? That is the criteria?
No, here, suppose I have given all of you few items. Some of the items are measuring honesty, some items are measuring integrity, some items are measuring happiness. Okay. And I have given you 3 boxes. One box is integrity, another happiness, another one is what I said, I forget.
Honesty, sir.
Honesty, right. Then if I tell you, that is, you select only one item and you put that item corresponding box. Okay. Then what will be? This is called the Q-shot technique. Okay, Q-shot technique. This is the approach. In this approach, again, you can assess the item. Okay. That is, to what extent the item is related to the operational definition. If the item is not related to the operational definition, then item will not be accepted. Okay. So this method can be used for the relevance judgment. To what extent the item is relevant for measuring the construct. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I am requesting Anusri, please start the class now.
Yes, sir.
So may I make you host?
Yes, sir. I'm willing to share.
Okay, now you are host.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. So today we will learn about validity and its types. Can anyone brief what is validity?
In short, it is whether a test is measuring what it is meant to measure.
Yes, this is true. Okay, so we come to the definition that validity refers to the degree to which a test measures what it claims to measure. And according to Anastasia, the validity of a test concerns what the test measures and how well it does so. So, for example, a test of intelligence should measure intelligence, not something else, such as creativity. So, if we consider an example that if you consider a scale, an inch scale or centimeter or meter scale, it is made for the purpose of measuring length of any physical object, and it serves the purpose. So this is the valid tool for measuring
Excuse me,
length.
ma'am.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but is it possible if you can speak a little louder?
Okay, okay. Hello.
It's still the same. Is it possible to keep the mic somewhere close?
Hello. Now it is clear.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I'm telling that an example that if you consider an inch, centimeter, meter, or foot scale, it is made for the purpose of measuring length of any object that is physical object, and it serves the purpose. But so this is the valid tool for measuring length. But if we try to measure weight with this particular scale, we can't. That means it is not a valid tool for measuring weight. So that means the validity concerns about what the test measures and what it claims to measure. If the test only measures what it claims to measure, that means the test is valid. Clear?
Clear.
Okay. So here is the relation between reliability and validity. Reliability refers to the consistency of scores obtained by the same person when they are re-examined with the same test on different occasions or with different sets of equivalent items or under other variable examining conditions. You know about this reliability. And validity is not the self-correlation of the test, rather it is the correlation with some outside independent criteria which are regarded by experts as the best measure of the traits being measured by the test. So you know that in case of reliability, we are trying to find out the correlation between the test itself. In case of the test retest reliability, we are finding out the correlation between the test scores that is obtained from the same sample and from the same test. And this is true for alternate forms also. And in case of the internal consistency, we are finding out the item total correlation. So this is the relation between the individual item and the total score. So reliability is more or less the self-correlation of the test, but validity is not about self-correlation of the test. It is the correlation with some outside independent criteria. And how it can be done, you can understand by the types of it. So these are the types of validity: content, phase, construct, and criterion. And construct can be further classified into convergent and divergent, and criterion further can be classified into predictive and concurrent. First, the content validity. So according to Anastasia, content validity involves essentially the systematic examination of the test content to determine whether it covers a representative sample of the behavior domain to be measured. Okay, so content validity refers to the extent to which a test measures representative sample of the subject matter or behavior under investigation. So for the content validity, if a test wishes to measure a particular content, that should measure this particular content only. So for example, suppose a final exam at the end of the semester for a statistics course would have content validity if it covers every topic discussed in the course and excludes all other irrelevant topics such as algebra or geometry. So this is very clear. If we wish to measure the content validity of a test, we have to measure that whether it covers the intended content area or not. So if a test is used to measure the capacity of the individual capacity and statistics, the test should contain all of the topic that is about statistics, not about algebra, geometry, trigonometry, anything else. This is the thing about content validity. Content validity of a test is examined in two ways: by expert's judgment or expert's relevance judgment, and by statistical analysis. In case of the expert judgment, an investigator wants to examine, if an investigator wants to examine the content validity of a test on Indian history, this is an example. If an investigator wants to examine the content validity of a test on Indian history, for this purpose, the content or the item of the test will be submitted to a group of subject matter experts. They will judge whether the test content or items represent all the important events of Indian history. Clear? Hello?
Clear.
Okay.
Can you speak little louder because it's not that audible.
Okay. Now?
Yeah, it is fine, but
Is it okay?
ma'am, it is okay. But somewhere it was very low.
Okay. Okay, the next is the by statistical analysis. So by measuring correlations of score of test by another same test, the high correlation would provide the index of content validity. So in case of the statistical analysis, we have to calculate the correlation coefficient between the two tests measuring same content. If the correlation is high, the content validity is also high. Clear? Please respond. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Another procedure to measure content validity is item total correlation. Please, someone, can you brief that what is item total correlation, because you have learned it? Anyone? Hello? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, you are audible, but
So can anyone explain what is item total correlation?
so I guess item total correlation is basically correlating the total score with individual items.
Yes. So in which purpose it was used? You have learned it before.
Basically, it is used for finding the correlationship and the relationship between two variables.
No, not at all.
Reliability.
Yes, for the internal consistency. So for the purpose of internal consistency reliability, we are doing the item total correlation so that we can find out the correlation between the individual item and the total score. So it helps us to measure the internal consistency. And it is also helpful for measuring the content validity of any test, because as it will help to understand the correlation between the individual item and the total score. And in case of any psychological test, or individual item and the total test should measure the same content. So if the item total correlation is high, the content validity should be high. Clear? Hello?
Clear.
Okay. The next point is face validity. The next type. According to Anastasia, face validity refers not to what the test actually measures, but to what it appears superficially to measure. Face validity is a type of validity, also called expert validity, that can be established through taking subjective decision regarding the relevance and capacity of the test items to measures what they ought to measure merely on the basis of their face value, that is physical appearance. So what is what is face validity? It is simply, it is not about what the test actually measures, but what it appears to measure. Okay. You can see there is the items, 4 items for set 1 and 4 items for set 2. Please read it out, and can anyone explain what is the difference between the items of set 1 and set 2?
Could you repeat the question, please?
There you can see that there is the 2 set of items, 4 items from set 1 and 4 items from set 2. So can you explain what is the difference between these sets? What is the difference between the items of set 1 and set 2?
Ma'am, I guess this item for set 1 is talking about mood and the whether the person is, what a person is feeling. And second is basically about anxiety, like if they feel nervous or restless, calm, cool, collected. So it is talking about the emotions they are feeling.
Yes, you have told very close, but kindly see that there is not only mood in the set 1. Mood is there, but something else is also there. That is about mood, that is about the feeling, overthinking, isn't it?
Yeah, worry is there. Yeah, overthink.
Do you worry too long about after an embarrassing experience? The 4th item.
Yes, yes.
So it is about mood, it is about feeling, it is about overthinking, like that. And the set 2 is about the anxiety. So actually the 4 items from set 1 is from neuroticism, and the 4 items from set 2 is from trait anxiety. Okay, so how can you explain it? By its appearance, isn't it?
Okay, by reading it, what we feel that what it is talking about. That is face validity.
Yes, the face validity, that means that what it appears to measure. So you
What
can
is overall it
differentiate.
is measuring.
Mhm.
What it is basically overall matlab measuring. It is measuring.
I can't understand. What do you say?
I was asking that after reading the questions, what I feel, what is 10, it is trying to measure whether the mood or the anxiety in
Yes,
different
yes.
items.
You can differentiate by its appearance, that it is about mood, it is about anxiety. That means you can understand it by its appearance. That is about face validity. You didn't calculate anything. You can understand it by its appearance. So this is about face validity. Okay.
I have a question that in
Yes.
where face validity is used.
Face validity is generally used when the another validity techniques are not collected properly or can't be found out. Then we can do face validity just for the expert's judgment, that whether it appears to measure the same thing that we want to measure. That's the thing. It is not so good validity technique. And it has also some limitations. Because if the face validity is too much high, then it is vulnerable to social desirability. Any person can manipulate their score, manipulate their responses. And if the face validity is low, the person can manipulate their responses because they can't understand what it is purpose to measure, what the purpose of this test. So this is the limitation of face validity. It is only used just to understand whether it appears to measure the same thing what it claims to measure. That's it. Here is two examples, two problems. So please tell me what kind of problem represents number 1 and what kind of problem represents number 2.
One is numerical and other is the statement.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Hello?
I think it's arithmetic.
Which one? Number 1 or number 2?
Both.
Okay. So you were dealing with the phase validity and it was easier for you to understand the number 1 is about arithmetical or numerical because it is made with digits. But the number 2 is not about digits. It is a problem, numerical problem or the arithmetical problem, but it was given in the word format. So the physical appearance helps you to understand that it measures it measures the arithmetical problem or it measures the numerical problem. So this is the phase validity. And in case of the number 2, you have to go deep into the content so that you can understand what it actually wishes to measure. That is the thing of phase validity, that in case of number 1, you can understand by its appearance. Isn't it? And for the number 2, you have to go deep into the content so that you can understand.
Number 2, ma'am, we can also use the content validity, right?
Yes. This is, you have to go into the content so that you can understand that it actually measures the numerical problem or the arithmetical problem. And in case of the number 1, you can understand by its appearance only. This is the thing. Clear? So the procedure for establishing phase validity. Researchers should approach a panel of judges. Who are the judges? The judges are the expert or experienced persons related to the corresponding construct or theories. And the judges will help in the establishment of the phase validity of the test. Okay. Now, the construct validity. According to Anastasia, the construct validity of a test is the extent to which the test may be said to measure a theoretical construct or trait. Examples of such constructs are intelligence, mechanical comprehension, verbal fluency, neuroticism, etc. Construct validity is essential to the perceived overall validity of the test. Key to construct validity are the theoretical ideas behind the trait under consideration. So, for example, suppose a researcher wants to evaluate the construct validity of big depression inventory, and he can perform a differential group study by comparing the BDI scores for people who have depression to the scores of people who do not have the depression. If the group that has depression scores higher on the BDI than the group without depression, this is the proof of construct validity. So, in case of the big depression inventory, the underlying construct is depression. Isn't it? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. So, as the underlying construct is depression, there should be the person who has depression, have depression, they must have the high score in the BDI scale, but who don't have this depression, they should have scored less in the BDI scale. That is the thing. That is the proof of construct validity, that whether it measures the underlying construct or not. Whether the test measures the underlying construct that it wishes to measure or not. These are the types of construct validity. Number one is convergent validity. It indicates how well a test agrees with other previously validated tests with which it shares the overlap of construct. For example, researcher had a group of people take both the BDI and the Hamilton Psychiatric Rating Scale for Depression, which is previously validated test that measures depression. Researcher found that two tests were highly correlated. This establishes convergent validity. So in case of the convergent validity, we are measuring the correlation between the two tests which measures the same underlying construct. If there is the correlation between the test scores are high, that means there is high convergent validity. Clear?
Ma'am, I have a question here.
Yes.
Suppose we are making a test out by using two types of other tests which are related to depression. So in that case, in order to develop some items, we can use convergent validity.
Hello?
Yeah, I was audible.
Your voice is breaking. Can
So
you
ma'am,
repeat?
yeah, I was asking, like, for example, I have to make a new test of depression by using two previously made tests of depression. So in that case, I will check the correlation, and then I can make a new test by using the convergent validity.
No, that is not the thing. You have to measure if you wish to construct a new test for depression, you have to make the items on the basis of the construct that is depression. After doing this, when you have to check the validity, the convergent validity, you have to consider another previous test that measures depression and that was already validated. Then you have to find out the scores from the test that is already validated, and you have to find out the scores from your new test. And if there is the high correlation between them, then the convergent validity is good. Clear?
Okay, ma'am, it was clear. Thank you.
Okay. So this is the items of the big depression inventory. So it is about I am so sad and unhappy that I can't stand it. I feel the future is hopeless and the things cannot improve. I feel I am complete failure as a person. I am dissatisfied or bored with everything. So the big depression inventory, the underlying construct is depression. And in case of the Hamilton rating scale, Hamilton depression rating scale, the underlying construct is also depression. So when we try to finding out the correlation coefficient between the scores of these two tests, there should be high correlation between them because they measure the same underlying construct. And if the correlation coefficient is high, that means the convergent validity is also high. Clear?
Clear.
Okay. The second type is divergent validity. It determines the extent to which a test measures what it is supposed to and not some theoretical unrelated construct. This validity is used to measure zero correlation or very low correlation among two tests, which are different in terms of their underlying construct. So what is the example? Researcher had a group of people who take both the BDI and Hamilton rating scale for anxiety. And the researcher found very low correlation between the scores obtained from the two tests. Number two, The social interest and intelligence are theoretically unrelated, and tests of these two constructs should correlate negligibly. So what is about divergent validity? It is about the correlation coefficient that we have to find out from two tests that measures different constructs. Okay. Hello.
So if we are using a divergent validity, will we search for a zero correlation?
Zero correlation or negligible correlation, low correlation.
Okay, okay, got it.
So no need of using this divergent validity. Is that?
Yes.
No. So it's not advisable using this divergent validity. You mean?
I can't get you. Can you write down in the chat box?
Okay.
No. We can apply both of this convergent and the divergent one. Divergent is about that if we have two tests that measures different constructs, then the correlation coefficient of the scores between the two tests should be very low. Okay. Now consider the example of BDI. The BDI measures the underlying construct, that is depression. So the items are just like that. I do not feel sad. I feel sad. I am so sad and unhappy that I can't stand it. And in case of the Hamilton rating scale, Hamilton anxiety rating scale, the underlying construct is anxiety. So the both of these tests measures different constructs. The BDI measures the construct that is depression, and the Hamilton anxiety rating scale measures the anxiety, the underlying construct that is anxiety. So in between the tests, there should be very low correlation with them. If the correlation is high between the two tests that measures different construct, that should be discarded. Clear?
So basically, we take a test with same type of construct in order to correlate them and have a good validity.
Yes, if you want to measure the divergent validity, then you have to find out that if you construct and test that is about depression, and you can measure the you can measure the divergent validity with another scale that measures anxiety. Then you can find out whether their correlation is high or low. If the correlation is low, that is good, because the two tests measures different construct. So there should be low correlation. Okay.
Basically, why and when we use these tests, these validity measures, while constructing the test.
Yes, by after constructing the test, we can measure the divergent validity by comparing it with other tests that measures different construct, not the same construct. If it measures a different construct, we can do the divergent validity in order to check whether there is high correlation or not. If there is low correlation, that is good, because you are measuring different construct, and the other test that with which you are comparing, that measures another construct.
That totally depends on our hypothesis of what we are measuring.
Yes.
So it basically depends on our hypothesis of what we are trying to measure.
Yes, what we are trying to measure, that is the main thing. If we're trying to measure depression, the content should be about the depressions. If we try to measure the anxiety, it should be about anxiety. So if the test that measures different construct, there should be low correlation between the tests. If this clear, this is the thing. Okay. Rose, can you
Yeah.
continue with?
So today let's move on to criterion related validity. So first thing about criterion related validity, according to Anastasia, this indicates the effectiveness of a test in predicting an individual's behavior in specific situations. That means here a criterion is set. That means for the purpose of performance of test, it is based on the criterion. So take an example of a mechanical aptitude test. So we know that mechanical aptitude test is based upon job performance. So the subsequent job performance comes as a criterion here. And in the case of scholastic aptitude test, you should be considering the criterion as college grades. So college grades will be set as a criterion here. Is it clear? Hello? Hello?
Yes, it is clear now.
Yes. Yeah.
Next.
Yes, yeah, it's clear.
Okay. Anu?
It get hand.
Yeah, I got it.
1 second.
Dear students, do you have any idea about the insomnia pattern of anxiety and depression?
Not really, sir.
Hmm?
Sir, you
Or
are talking about how anxiety and depression affects insomnia.
not the affect. I'm talking that is the insomnia pattern of anxiety and depression. Rosmal, any idea?
Sir, in my idea, in the case of depression, people tend to be tend to lose their sleep, and it's like some of them are very much sleep deprived, but in some of them, I have seen like they are much awake, they cannot sleep.
Basically, it would be like the insomnia, hypersomnia, and all those
Yes,
patterns
yes.
that happens.
Hypersomnia can happen in case of depression, but in case of anxiety, generally it doesn't happen. Hypersomnia.
I think it can go both ways. I don't think there's a single way in which it gets expressed. We have
Okay, the
clients who come with
early
both
insomnia.
types.
Early insomnia is the indicator of anxiety. Okay. And late insomnia, that is the indicator of depression.
You define early and late insomnia.
Early means difficulty to sleep early. Early insomnia, that is the indicator of anxiety. And the depression, that is the late insomnia. Any idea about the salivary pattern? Saliva secretion?
Yeah, in anxiety, I've seen people with more salivation, and in depression, it is opposite because people tend to stop eating. The appetite changes.
Okay. So what we have understood, that is the items related to the anxiety and related to the depression will be different based upon their symptomatology as well as the etiology. Okay. So
Can I
when
ask one thing, sir? I just
Sure,
want to
sure.
read more about this insomnia pattern. So, if it's possible, can you share the reference, sir?
You can see read Kaplan and Sadok.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, sir. I'll do that. Book name, sir?
Kaplan and Sadok.
Book
That is
name, sir.
textbook
Title.
of psychiatry.
Okay. Psychiatry. Okay.
There you will find the differential diagnosis between anxiety and depression. Because depression and anxiety, there are a lot of similarities between their complaint, but there is a minute difference. Okay, for example, insomnia is common in anxiety and depression, but early insomnia, that is prevalent in case of anxiety, and the late insomnia, that is prevalent in depression. But insomnia, that is common in both anxiety and depression. And maybe the salivary pattern also, salivary secretion, in case of the, maybe the depression, you will find the mouth totally dry, but not in case of the anxiety.
But sir, I have seen people with anxiety issues tend to have a different kind of eating patterns. Like due to anxiety, they eat a lot.
Obesity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similarly, people with depression can also eat a lot, but I think it depends on the
Yes.
individual as well.
Hmm.
There's no one way in which this works.
Okay, so what is important, that is when you like to frame the item, you must be very clear about the construct and related theories. That is very important. Otherwise, you cannot make the difference. Salivary flow rate very low in case of the depression. So you have to frame the item in such a manner so that the item can make the difference between the depression and the anxiety.
Hmm.
For that reason, my suggestion, when you want to do any sort of construction of any sort of psychological instrument, my suggestion, please you study the literature review.
What book you were saying?
Not the book, it is the literature review.
Literature review. Okay.
Systematic literature review, that is vital.
I have a question here that when we are making a subjective test, like that in which we don't use the scoring and everything, the not the quantitative analysis. So in that case, how will we check the validity and reliability?
No, in case of the qualitative approach, it becomes very difficult to check the reliability and validity. But there are some approaches, for example, the grounded theory, they have some models, but it becomes very difficult to follow the reliability and validity.
It is a very tedious job.
Yeah, because it becomes very difficult. For that reason, we are applying the qualitative data In case of the item construction, test theory construction, whatever might be, but we are following the quantitative approach. We are assigning value on the qualitative data.
Who's that theme approaches and for the analysis?
Yeah, whatever your theme, but what is the validity of your theme? It becomes very difficult to justify, that is whether your theme is valid or not. For that reason, most of the time you will find the qualitative data not very much accepted. And qualitative analysis is very challenging. Whatever the data you will collect through the qualitative analysis, then you have to make it quantitative.
How
For
do we make
example,
quantitative, sir? I am not sure about it.
for example, today's discussion. Okay. Onusri is teaching and we are following our lesson plan and other things. You are also asking something. So based upon that, I can say that is okay. When the teacher, in case of the online teaching, asks many questions, all the students are not responding. Okay? Because only Anindita and Ayushi, these two are responding, but not other people.
Roman is also responding.
Eh?
Roman is
yeah,
also.
Roman once. Okay. So what does it mean? So this is, suppose this is your theme. So that is your theme. And whether this theme is reliable or valid, how can you justify?
Make this qualitative analysis into subjective, like out of 10, 2 responded, 3 responded. So,
So that is the quantitative approach.
okay, sir.
So that is the quantitative approach. And if you want to conduct any online, and you will find that many students are absent. Or some
How we
students,
convert it from
yeah,
qualitative to
or some students are silent. So that is your qualitative model. But what is the validity? Okay.
from the qualitative data, we make some themes and then we quantify them. This is how we convert it.
Yes. And you have to maintain some design. Research design is there, some control condition will be there, some experimental condition will be there. Many things are there. For that reason, applied psychometrics is vital. But the root of applied psychometrics may be the qualitative when you are interested to assess the qualitative data. Okay.
Do you know any good book for qualitative analysis?
Yeah, I know. I can tell you later on, but not now. Okay, now Anusri, please continue.
Who's will continue?
Yes. So let's see what is types of criterion validity. In the case of criterion validity, it can be divided into concurrent and predictive. So it is based on the timing of the measurement for predictor and outcome. That means in concurrent validity, it is based upon the amount of agreement between two different assessments. That means just take an example of a newly constructed intelligence test, and that can be correlated with scores obtained on already standardized tests of intelligence. So the resulting coefficient of correlation will be indicator of concurrent validity. So it is mainly based upon the agreement between two different assessments. Is it clear? Hello? Hello? Is it clear?
Ma'am, can you explain the difference between convergent and then concurrent? Because I think they both are very overlapping.
Anushree, can you just explain the convergence, or I can clear this one?
Convergent is about your checking whether the construct, if the constructs are same of the both of this test, that means there should be high correlation between them. And the concurrent is also like that, but it is about the test that should be validated before. If we try to measure a construct, or if we try to measure the concurrent validity of a particular test, I have to make a test now. I have to make a test now, and by framing the items, and then I have to check whether there is, if I want to check the intelligence, then I have to find out another test that is already validated before, and we have to find out the correlation between the two tests. That is the concurrent validity. And in case of the convergent, it is not necessary that you have to make a test now. You can assess the convergent validity of the two tests that measures the same underlying construct that is previously made. Because the purpose is to, in case of the convergent validity, your purpose is to find out whether there is a high correlation between the test that measures same construct. And in case of the concurrent, this is about the criterion. Whether the test that is already validated is, if it is highly correlated, that means it reaches the criteria. Clear?
Ayushi, clear?
Yeah, it is clear now.
Okay. So next is about predictive validity. Predictive validity means the term, the prediction, we can explain that as when it is related to a question. That means this outcome can be assessed on later time as well. So in the case of predictive, let's take an example of IQ test. So we know IQ test can predict the school performance. So this predictive validity is about predicting something, and this can be based upon the criterion, and it is not limited to something that is very what to say. It is not based upon some kind of status. It is based upon the time interval. We can also use it for the future. Is it clear? Hello?
You can understand from the example, I think.
Yeah, it is clear.
Okay. So let's take this example. Now we have seen the example of mechanical aptitude test, and we have discussed what is the criterion of mechanical aptitude test. That is the subsequent job performance. So in the case of predictive validity, the scores on mechanical aptitude test can be correlated after a year or two. So in that case, this average performance can be measured in terms of units of production. So here what we are doing is we are predicting it. First, we are taking the scores on mechanical aptitude test, and then after a year or two, we can just see how it is changed on the basis of production, on the basis of units of production. So this is an example. Is the example clear? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, yes.
So
Yes.
the next example is, now take a professor who can administer the college entrance exam to 1,000 students. So after 1 year, this professor can collect data on the first semester exam of same 1,000 students. So in that case, if there is a high correlation between the scores on entrance exam and the first semester, this can give the measure of predictive validity. Is this example clear?
Yes, ma'am, it is clear.
Okay.
So I'm starting.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions?
Okay, my question is to all of you. Okay, that is which test is not appropriate for convergent validity? Okay. Now the question is which test is not appropriate for convergent validity in case of the intelligence test? Option A, reasoning test. Option B, academic achievement. Option C, creativity. So what would be your answer?
So I guess creativity.
Creativity, sir.
Okay. Now, Roman, you have said creativity. Ayushi,
Creativity.
Anindita,
Sir, can you repeat the options again, sir? I'm thinking.
academic
one is
achievement,
reasoning.
reasoning, and creativity.
Listening and creativity.
So which will not be appropriate for convergent validity in case of intelligence test?
Creativity.
Okay. So you are telling creativity. Why creativity is not applicable for intelligence test?
Sir, I guess in intelligence we find the IQ level of a child or some or a person. In that case, we use reasoning and we also check the academic performance by using the IQ test. But creativity, we use a different test. So there would be less correlation. So I guess this is why we cannot use convergence validity for intelligence and creativity.
I think creativity goes beyond intelligence, because intelligence gives us ability to, infer from certain information, be able to use the knowledge. But creativity is much more than that. You have to be able to use information in different ways and bring up newer ideas. So I think creativity would not be applicable if we are going to measure intelligence.
Okay. Now the answer is reasoning test and academic achievement test. These two are related to the problem solving, but creativity is not the problem solving. Because whenever we are applying the divergent thinking, so this is not related to any problem solving. But whenever we are applying to converge, the divergent ideas to solve the problem, so then it will be the problem solving. So most of the time you will find that is the creative people, they are not very much oriented to problem solving. They are creating different ideas, but not the problem solving. But innovation people, they are oriented to the problem solving. Therefore, creativity and innovation, these two are different. Though there is some similarity between the two.
Under which domain creativity will come? Innovation only.
For example, you are in the Ravindra Psychotherapy Research Institute Trust, you think of Rabindranath Tagore. Okay. So he is composing several songs, several poems, and many things because he was the creative person. He was not considered on this how to solve the problem. Okay. Therefore, most of the time you will find there are a lot of the creative people, they are engaged in creation. Several fine artists are there. They are creating many things, but not finding out any solution. But there are some artists, they are the commercial artists. Usually they are thinking about the solution aspect. Okay. Wordsworth, Byron, many classical poems are there. So they are creating. They are engaged in different flows in consciousness, but not for solution. Because there is no problem. Some ideas came and they are creating. But in case of the innovation, the problem is there, creativity is there, and solution is there. In case of the intelligence test, you will find that is you have to solve. In case of the reasoning test, you have to solve. In case of the academic achievement, again, you have to solve. But in creativity, there is no question of solution. It is the divergent and the convergent thinking, mainly. Not necessarily that is whatever your divergent ideas that will be the converge as to solve the problem. When it is to solve the problem, then it will be different. It will not be considered as the creativity, but innovation might be like that. Okay. So why we have discussed all these issues? Because in case of the validity, the most important part is criteria. You have the psychological instrument and you will be asked to validate your instrument. Then, how can you validate? How can you select the criteria? That is the most challenging issue. What will be your criteria? For example, you are administering Rorschach test. So what will be the criteria for Rorschach test? Is there any test that can be used for Rorschach? Anindita, Ayushi, Roman?
Personality tests can be used with Rorschach.
So which personality test?
16 PF can be used.
For example, you can administer Neo. Okay. And there is one thing that is the openness. In case of the Neo, when you have the neuroticism score, so neuroticism is very much related to the Rorschach data. But when it is related to the conscientiousness, how do you get the consciousness from the Rorschach test?
So in this case, we can also use the Big Five personality test. They have all the 5 personality traits.
Okay, that is the ocean. So whether all the components can be extracted from Rorschach, openness, okay, that is possible. But conscientiousness, is it possible through Rorschach? Neuroticism, definitely. Extraversion is also. Agreeableness somehow. But how conscientiousness? So that is the question. In case of the applied psychometrics, this is the basic question. That is, how do you select the criterion variable? So that your psychological instrument will be correlated with the criterion variable. So what is the theory? You have to study all of them. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
For that reason, applied psychometric students, they must study the psychological theories. Okay. Once one company requested me, that is, they are interested to teach applied psychometrics to the banking personnel. Then I asked them whether the banking personnel competent enough in understanding the psychology. Because the banking personnel, they have idea about the management. That is true. But the psychology is different. Psychology is not the management. And psychological test administration by the psychologist and psychological test data interpretation by the psychologist and the non-psychologist different. Therefore, the non-psychologist, they sometimes misuse psychological test. Okay. So applied psychometrician must be very much aware about the psychological theories. Need hierarchy theory of Maslow. Okay. The lesson plan for Maslow's need hierarchy and for the psychology students, and the lesson plan of the same for the management students, maybe same, but the interpretation will differ. Maybe the two books are there same. Management people, they are also learning Maslow's need hierarchy. Psychology people also understands need hierarchy. But the meaning of self-actualization by the psychologist and meaning of self-actualization by the management people or the non-psychologist, different. Therefore, applied psychometricians must be very much aware of the psychological construct, theories, especially in case of the clinical psychometrics. They must be very much aware of the differential diagnosis. Okay. Obsessive ideas are common in narcissistic. Obsessive ideas are also prevalent in OCD. But the obsessive idea presentation, the behavior of narcissistic and the obsessive behavior of OCD patient different. Therefore, clinical psychometrician must be very much aware about the differential diagnosis. Is it clear?
Clear, sir.
I have a question.
Sure, sure.
Sir, you have told in narcissistic, the obsessive thoughts are there, and also it is present in OCD too. So how does it differ in narcissistic?
Okay. In case of the obsessive, we will find the intrusive thoughts. It is the intrusive. But in case of the narcissistic, it is attention getting. I want to, most of the time we will find that is many people, I don't want to say that is only the girls, boys also nowadays. They are going to the shopping mall and they are taking different type of dresses, etc. And lot of the photos in the Facebook. After that, no one purchases anything. So what is this? Is it obsessive? No. This is narcissistic. So you have to find out the difference between the two.
Sir, just for a clarification,
Sure.
sir, most of the people are taking pictures, doing shopping these days. Then they just want to show everything in social media, and
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
seen most of them are doing it. But
Yeah.
then how can we differ narcissistic and normal ones? I mean, the people without narcissistic.
No, the normal one different. I'm not talking about the normal. There is no question of normal. It is the question of the general people.
Hmm.
In case of the narcissistic, you will find that is they are changing the dresses repeatedly because they are not satisfied at all.
Sir, then you mean narcissistic traits are present in the person?
Yeah, that is common. That is common. Narcissistic, that is very common. It is very natural. But obsessive is different. Obsessive is intrusive thought. So whenever you want to study the purchasing pattern, Mona Lisa is doing the research on purchasing. Is it Mona Lisa? Am I right? Okay, he's not here. So purchasing decision, if it is narcissistic, the purchase decision and the obsessive is different. Obsessive will not buy. But obsessive purchase, that is also the narcissistic approach. Okay. Narcissist people, they are telling, okay, I am the most beautiful person in this world. But obsessive never tell you. That means you must be very much clear about the clinical psychometry. So please you study the symptomatology, etiology, psychotherapy, intervention, all those things. Whenever you want to construct any psychological test for measurement of any clinical thing. And the literature review is most important. Is it clear to all of you? Any question? You can ask me any question.
Clear, sir.
Okay. So Rosmal and Anusri, do you want to add something more? Or your task is over?
Task is over.
Task is over. Okay. So how is the class today? Roman is telling something. I do not know what is this.
Fine.
What is this? Quantitative means the result will be expressed numerically. Yeah, not only expressed, but total the analysis and the interpretation, all those things. Analysis, that is important in qualitative. Sorry, in quantitative. And the qualitative analysis is different. That means the river wave, the first river wave, never be similar to the second river wave. That means you cannot make any average in case of the qualitative. Okay. 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 So, Anushri, please start the closing prayer.
Where I forgot it.
Forwarded what?
Forgot.
Okay, so I am telling. Oh, Purnamada, Purnamidang, Purna, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Okay, good night. My best wishes to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
It's a photo.